Hey guys, what's up? This is Mel, and I'm here to talk about The Flash, episode 305, titled Monster, which premiered Tuesday, November 1st, 2016 on the CW. Guys, I'm recording this as my first impression of the episode, the same night I'm watching the episode for the first time. So all my thoughts, theories, and predictions are all my own for this video, as well as any photos of my face if I happen to use them. But otherwise, everything visually is found through Google. I just edited it through Photoshop. This is just made for fun. No money's being made for this. It's just a fun way to share my thoughts about the episode, as well as to kind of make aware of what my predictions are in case they do happen to pan out later on down the line. It's always fun to see if I was actually on the right track or not. And also, another reminder, I don't read the comics at all. So any of my thoughts, predictions are coming from someone who doesn't know what the comic book connections are, or what certain characters from the comic books are being represented in the show. So in case some of you guys might be aware that what this name is significant for because of the comics, I won't. So this is just my take, a fresh pair of eyes for content that's been so well known through these three comics. So with that said, let me start with the 10-minute clock. And let's begin. So something new that we learned in this episode. So the problem of the day, I guess you could say, turns out to be this holographic monster that was created by this 15-year-old kid who kept getting bullied at school. He pretty much wanted to make people fear him like he fears those who bully him, pretty much. So with that said, that was like kind of a side story. But anyways, so another thing we learned is that Barry is temporarily staying with Cisco until he finds himself a place. I guess he seriously meant when he was going to move out of the West family home. I thought he was going to give himself some time to find a place first, but he got out of it very quickly. So there's that. Also, another thing to take notice of is the fact that Joe will not talk about his lack of a love life with Iris. Anytime she brings up the dinner invitation that he got from Cecile, Joe always brushes it off, saying, "I'm not talking about this with you," type of thing. So there's that. Great thing about this episode, I thought, was the fact that we got two different backstories in this episode. So the first one comes from Caitlin. We actually got to meet her mother, Dr. Carla Tannhauser, who is a biomedical researcher. We find out that they've barely talked within the last 3 years since Caitlin came to Central City, to work at Star Labs. Turns out that Carla turned cold towards Caitlin shortly after her husband, Caitlin's father, had died. Instead of trying to work through the grief, Carla turned to work, which pretty much isolated Caitlin to deal with grieving over her father by herself, which kind of caused this rift between mother and daughter. Also, in Carla's office, there was a photo of 3 for the family. Assumingly, Carla, her late husband, and a child. At first glance, it looks like it was a boy. So I don't know if just because it was very quick, and I misinterpreted, or Caitlin really had short hair in that photo, or maybe they had a son that we don't know about, because as you remember, on Earth 2, Killer Frost did have a brother. So it's very possible that Caitlin also had a brother in this version of the timeline, or even in the other timeline. Anyways, so there's that. Also, we find out that Carla did not know that Caitlin was married, or that she too had lost her husband just a year ago. So we know that at least that part wasn't affected by Flashpoint. And by the end of the episode, Carla advises for Caitlin to not use her powers, or they will be harder for them to reverse the effects the powers have on her. And it looks like from Carla's research on Caitlin, that it looks like Caitlin absorbs heat whenever she freezes something. She managed to freeze this really high temperature heat core, and when she froze it, it seemed Caitlin had absorbed all that energy. So there is that. There's probably a bit more I missed, but those are the key ones that stuck out for me. Now moving on to the second backstory, and that came from Julian Albert. We find out that he came from a wealthy family back in England. He's from old money. He also said that he was kind of the odd duck of the family who wanted to be the scientist. He didn't want to be part of the high society class that he grew up being a part of. instead of being at those high society parties, he wanted to go and make a difference. He wanted to do research and stuff like that. He was the eldest of his generation, so he was supposed to inherit everything before he left to go pursue a career in science. He was at the top of his career when the particle accelerator exploded that first time, which created the metahumans. So there's that forcing him to deal with a subject matter that he knew nothing about, but he was determined to become a specialist in that. So there's that. We find out that Julian's hatred towards metahumans is because that he believes that the metahumans are misusing their newfound powers. He said that if he was gifted with powers, he would use them to help people, to help the world in some kind of way. So there's that. He also views the Flash as kind of making everyone slack off. Everyone's is relying too much on the Flash, which Julian doesn't like. But also we find out that Julian's view of the Flash changes when the Flash saves Julian from accidentally killing the 15-year-old kid who was controlling the holographic monster. Because of his misjudgment over the Flash, Julian thinks he may have misjudged Barry as well, so he kind of gives him a chance when an olive branch was granted to him. So that was pretty interesting to learn about Julian. It was great to see that he opened up about all of this to Barry, so it was great for that fact as well. Also in this episode, we truly get to learn about HR, aka the Harrison Wells from Earth 19. He claims to be a scientist and a novelist. Turns out that he is just an idea man. He is not a scientist. He's pretty much the face of the operation. He gives ideas. He helps people come to ideas through his ramblings and reusing of words. He didn't actually solve the riddle that Earth 2 Wells had sent out. It was actually HR's partner that happened to do it. Back on Earth 19, HR was exposed as a fraud. So that was why he had to leave. And when he saw the riddle to come to Earth 1, he saw that as an opportunity for a fresh start as well. Wally pretty much labels HR as a con man, though. Rightfully so, but he begs the team to give him a second chance to prove that he is valuable for them, because he does have knowledge about all the metahumans dealt with on his Earth. It's just he doesn't know how to do it on a science level. He just knows how it was done back on his Earth. So he has that type of information that the team could use. So there's that. So what moment will I remember most when I look back on this episode, or the most shocking moment, I should say, is that the monster was actually just a hologram. It wasn't a metahuman that generated it. It wasn't a metahuman that turned into this monster. It was actually just a computer program. So that was a big surprise in itself. It was clever to have that be the source of it. It's just, it was unexpected for sure. So moving on though, the top 3 favorite moments of the episode for me. The first one definitely has to be Caitlin's backstory. It's about time that we got it. We got Earth 2 Killer Frost's backstory last season, so it was just great to get a backstory of our Caitlin. Hopefully we'll get a bit more about it maybe later on, but it was just great to get as much as we did in this episode. And it was great to see that the rift between Caitlin and her mom was on the mend. They took the first step in fixing that. So the second favorite moment I had was Barry and Julian once again. It was definitely the fact that they made progress in turning over a new leaf between them. We got to see the bonding moment between them. We got to see Julian actually trusting Barry enough to divulge his backstory, actually saying yes when Barry invited him out for a drink. So it's just great to see that turning stone for them, and I hope things go well between them, because you really need a good working relationship if you want to enjoy your job as much as you can. Last favorite moment I have to say is HR's theatrics. Even though he's kind of a con man, it was very interesting to see how he displayed himself, how he tried to showcase his skill sets, or try to hide what he knew, or try to hide what he didn't know. So it was very entertaining for sure to see such movements from him, when usually the other versions of Dr. Wells that we've come to know have been more scientific, more logical, more straightforward. So there is that. Top 3 peeved moments. Let's move on to that. I really only have the one. It was the fact that I really can't tell if I can trust HR or not, despite the whole theatrics from him being amusing. I can't tell if I can trust him. And previously, before, Harrison Wells hasn't really given us the best track record. Season 1 ended up being he was Eobard Thawne in disguise, and then season 2 was Dr. Wells secretly working for Zoom, only to double cross him and then go back to Barry, working for Barry. So it's just HR is going to take a lot of. He's going to have to find a way to get us to trust him. Not only for the Flash team, but also for me as a viewer as well. It's going to take something really big for me to trust HR. But again, what will I remember most about this episode? The fact the creature wasn't a creature, and the fact that we got so many backstories like we did. And there's the timer. Almost done though. Random questions though. First one was the photo of the Snow family. My question is whether or not that was a picture of a boy with his parents, or if it was just another photo and I just misinterpreted it, because I really think that that's a photo of Caitlyn's brother. And if that's the case, where is he? What happened to him? Is it possible that he's still alive in this timeline or on this Earth? We know he didn't survive on Earth too. So that had me curious for sure. Second question though, has Julian started to trust Barry? Is this the start of something new for them? And will all that be ruined if and when Julian finds out that Barry is actually the Flash? So there is that. Moving on to predictions though, very quickly. Based off the promo for 306, it's not returning until Tuesday, November 15th, 2016. So it's 1 week without a new episode, and then we're back with this episode. And it looks like Wally has dreams of his time as Kid Flash. It looks like Wally has to be contained in the pipeline. And it looks like Dr. Alchemy returns. Based off the synopsis though, it pretty much outlines the same thing. Barry has to tell the West family about Kid Flash when Wally starts having visions about it. So there's that. New questions though, off of that. First one is, what is stopping Barry from actually using his speed to rip the mask off of Dr. Alchemy and revealing who it is underneath? I mean, what is really stopping Barry from doing that? If he's the fastest man alive, then why can't he just do that and save all the trouble and find out who this guy is? So that's that question. Second question, second prediction I think is that Caitlyn's going to have more control issues over her powers. It seems like she's using them a lot more than she means to. And I think someone on the team is going to have to clue in on this fact or on this odd behavior of hers, because I think she's going to be a bit more on edge or something like that. It was pretty cool that we got to see her eyes light up, though, when she used her powers in this episode. So that's cool. Next prediction and last one is that Wally is going to get a speed, but it's going to backfire on him. I really think he's not going to immediately become Kid Flash. I think he's going to become something else. And then after the team saves him from this something else, he's then going to be able to redeem himself through Kid Flash. So there is that. What did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it, as well as your own thoughts and theories. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. Follow me there. I like to reblog promos, web clips, quotes, GIFs, synopses, all of that stuff for The Flash, as well as for other TV shows that I follow. So go follow me there if you want to keep up to date on that. Trying my best. It's usually on the weekends I update things if work doesn't intervene during the week. So there is that. And my WordPress account is also connected to my Tumblr page, so go check that out as well. But that's about it. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys come back next week or in 2 weeks to hear what I have to say about this next episode. But until then, this is Mel. Wishing you all a great day, great week, wherever you are. Bye for now.